The views and opinions expressed within the video content found on the Indie Comics Network are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Indie Comics Network or its sponsors.
Oh my gosh, what am I doing? Good morning, man. Oh, I tell you, I've been up for an hour now and it feels like I just woke up. So I am independent artist C. Michael Lanning, currently working on Doghouse 2. I'm inking it up right now. This is one of the main characters here. I feel like I promise not everything I do is a headshot. Just so happens that's when you come into my studio. Is this when I'm doing this? So, you gotta give me a minute. I have not had enough coffee this morning. Gee whiz! It's 4 a.m. here. I'm not quite sure what the temperature is, but I promise you, it's probably cold. Oh, let's see. Yeah, I'm sure. Really riveting stuff here. Learning temperature. So last night before I went to, it's 40 degrees. Okay. It's a little bit better. Last night I went to bed found right before I went to bed, I found that Andre Braugher, I think that's how you say his name, passed. That was kind of shocking. 61 years old. Like, golly. So young. But fantastic actor. I believe he was also in The Mist. Everybody's talking about Homicide. I didn't really watch Homicide, but I did watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine. In fact, we just watched the first episode again the other day. So, really sad to hear that. About the same like you feel about Lance Riddick. That was a shocker too. Man. Anyway, for those that don't know, and it's first time tuning in, I don't always talk this low. I don't always talk this even. But again, it's 4 a.m. Nobody wants to hear a chipper, happy person. It's Wednesday. Golly. So, but anyway, woke up to what? I swear, there's always some kind of comics thing going on. It's like it goes quiet for it might go. Let's do this. It might go quiet for a little while, but then, before you know it, there's got to be somebody that says something or does something or whatever, and it's not necessarily what they say is bad. It just starts a conversation, which I guess is okay, right? Who knows? But Rob Guillory made statement this morning or last night, 4 hours ago, 4 or 5 hours ago, means he was up late, that the comic book industry is a service industry. Because I'm not. I feel like on the edge, on the outskirts of that. So it's kind of like, yeah, maybe so. Maybe the comic book industry is a service industry. Sure, you have, in that sense, yeah, you have customers. You try to keep happy, especially for an artist or even if you're a writer for hire, trying to keep your client happy, right? So, And then of course Eric Larson of Savage Dragon fame chimes in that there's really no way you can keep everybody happy all the time. What was it? As always, it was attributed to Abraham Lincoln. I have no idea who actually said it, but it was you can make some of the people happy some of the time. You can't make all the people happy all of the time. So just keep that in mind. Especially with all this stuff that goes on around here in the comic industry. Like I say about it, though, it's kind of like I don't do this for money in the sense. Okay, so I've been doing this live streaming thing for about 3 years. I started in there we go. Let's start with that. I'll give you a little bit of a history. I started the live streaming thing about 3 years ago in September. No, well, maybe a little bit earlier than that because I was on Silverline's stream, which was a comic company, or is, I don't know. And the thing about it, so went by real quick. Of course, like everything else, I was approached by somebody to do a book. Just posting things, on different groups and everything. I was approached by somebody to do a book. And they were having a Dross live stream, and I got involved in that. But I don't even really consider that like my foray into doing broadcasting type stuff. It was, I would say, probably September of that year of 2020. I know 2020, that's a big surprise. Nobody was doing anything in 2020, right? Mm-hmm. Like you just had this onslaught of online presence in 2020. And I was no exception. Of course, I didn't come out on my own. I didn't have my own show till a year or so later. But started doing the news with somebody, comic news and everything like that. So, but and the amount of controversies and things that I myself have not been a part of per se, but have been on the edge of. You wait. It's almost like you wait every year for some new controversy to come up. And it's like, golly, come on, man. Come on. And of course, the big mantra around there is, it's just comics. Well, guess what? It's just It's just life. It doesn't matter how it is. There's going to be something somewhere, somehow. Probably in the job you work, there's some type of rumor, controversy, or something going around. Who knows what it is? Who knows if it's true? And that's the same thing here. Especially when you're dealing with several folks from around the world. But I mean, I didn't do it. I don't do comics because it's a moneymaker. That was never ever. Well, of course you want it. Like I said before, like just like a football player, it might play football for the love of the game, but you just kind of want to. But it wouldn't hurt to go pro either, right? And that's always been kind of the deal for me too. So I had my own stuff to do in the middle of messing around with that stuff, and then somebody tapped me. That's what I talked about yesterday, but just kind of persevere, just keep putting out there. Have you ever seen that documentary for, what was it, a band called Death? And no, and it's not the heavy metal band Death, but they were kind of a punk band before there was punk, quote unquote. I mean, no, honestly, let's face it, there's always really been punk. It might just not have been called that, but it was around. Anyway, so they recorded an EP, went under, the main guy died, and then eventually somehow it was found. And they blew up. So, and we're talking about, like, it was found whew, decades later. So, so there's that whole. It used to be on Netflix. I don't know where it is now, but yeah. So that's the thing. And they just put it out there, right? Just put it out there. Shikari chat. Nita can draw. Actually, believe it or not, Nita can draw. Yeah. But of course, she likes to live stream to her Facebook. So that's all there is to it. I stream to her Facebook, to my Facebook, and of course on the IndieComicsNetwork.com. So, but she can draw. She doesn't do it very often, and she doesn't think she's very good at it. So that just goes to show you she's probably good at it. She actually did some years back. She did a Edward Eldrick and of Full Metal Alchemist, and she did a what's it, Elsa. So, of course, she doesn't like to talk about that. So, but man, talk about being a whiz at marketing. Golly, it's crazy how she knows to navigate this social media stuff. And see, that's the thing. She started after I did, and just took to it like a fish out of water. A fish in water. A fish out of water. That would be bad. I take to it like a fish out of water. I just flop around. So, but wherever you're watching from, thank you for watching. Of course, comment, talk. I'm more than happy to conversate and engage. Nothing like a good early morning talk, right? So, and this character, of course, is Rubs from Doghouse, which is Hasm Productions, which is actually Hasm.com. Check that out. They have a couple of things. They have the first Doghouse over there, which is a standalone. You can check it out and see if you like it and prepare for the next year's Kickstarter, which, of course, I'm preparing for by drawing it. And then other things like Roadkill Rampage and stuff. So, yeah, I'm plugging. That's right. And there's nothing better than an early morning plug. But back to the service industry thing. What do you think? Is comics actually a service industry? Is because when I think of a service industry, it's like, oh, we aim to please, I guess it depends how you view that, right? I mean, do you view that like, of course, I want to make people happy with what I do, but is my aim to please? Of course, my aim is to entertain. So I guess in that respect, yeah, it's a service industry, right? So, but it kind of depends in the sense on where you're at in this. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, please. So, if I'm in this where I'm putting it all together, I'm writing, I'm drawing, I'm designing the characters, I'm doing all this, this is my baby, I'm putting it all together. I think my focus is more like pleasing myself, and the way to please myself in that is to make sure that it's coherent, people do enjoy it, but as long as I come away being satisfied, that's what I'm looking for. Now, when I'm working for somebody else, now this is a service industry. Now I'm trying to please my client, right? So I kind of wonder, is it taking that from this angle? Like, from this angle, it's a service industry. From the angle when I'm creating for myself or I'm creating to present to others, I don't know how much I view it as a service industry. Like, I guess is comics unique in that sense? I don't know. But I do agree with Eric Larson on the grounds that you can't please everybody all the time. And by the time you take one stand on one thing, the other side's going to hate. I think what he said was look, the man Rob just made a Facebook post. Aaron just commented. They're regular guys, just like you or me, or regular people like you or me. They have their opinions. We can agree with their opinions and disagree with their opinions. Not that I either one. I'm not taking sides. So it's kind of funny to come out. Oh, we're going to talk about what they said because it was public. I did not like that. But I mean, they did. They are people that are in the industry, that have been in the industry for years. Of course, Rob Guillory, if you don't know, did Chew for Image Comics with John Layman. He also Farmhand, the great Farmhand, and Mosley right now for Boom. He's just writing that one, but he was a writer and artist for Farmhand and an artist for Chew. So, they have a little bit of, I'll say they have a little bit of an experience with this outside of anything I have, especially. So just so when they say something, you kind of stop and you listen, you want to take it in consideration. Like, okay. And that's the thing. So, but Eric Larson said, because I'm rambling. Stop rambling. I'm trying not to stop it. Stop. But Eric Larson said, if you Hulk and Thor fight, if the Hulk wins, people who like Thor are going to be mad. If the Thor wins, the people who like Hulk are going to be mad. Which I'm pretty sure that there's more of those than there are of Thor, but whatever. And so it doesn't really, by it's all the time and done and over with, you're gonna make somebody mad. And that's true. It's just that's how that's gonna be. It doesn't matter how you look at it. As sad as it is. But you know what? You know what? Never mind. I take that back. I do. I don't think that's sad. And the reason I don't think that's sad is because I'm glad that you can't please everybody all the time. I'm glad that we do have differences of opinions. I'm glad that there's a multitude of people who are passionate about what they believe. But being passionate about what you believe and being vulgar about it are two different things. I'm not going to get into that. But I just don't see. I think like I worked in the service industry. I've worked with customers and everything. And you are aiming to please them if you're doing it right. Other than I'm just trying to get through my day and get paid. But if you are doing it with the best intentions to do your job correctly, you are trying to please the customer. And that's true. But for comics, I don't think it runs across the board that way. So if I had a lead, I'm kind of leaning like, no, it's not. I'm providing entertainment, absolutely, but at the end of the day, it's like, am I solely doing it to please you, as opposed to a waiter solely doing it solely doing it to make money. Let's face it, and there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody, it's one thing that I can never stand with the whole, we want people who are here who want to be here, who don't aren't just trying to make a paycheck. Guess what? You're living in a fantasy world. I'm sorry to tell you this. If you feel that way, stop, because it's your dream. It's your desire. You can't make everybody feel that way. To be honest with you, I can't stand the idea. This might get me in trouble too. I can't stand the idea of we're all the family. No, I'd much rather prefer a company not look at me as family but look at me as someone who has a family, that they have to be on their P's and Q's to keep the company running, because families fall apart all because of fear of telling someone something that they need to hear, but are afraid of how they're going to take it. And that's just it. Not to mention it's a buzzword to try to get people to do more work. That's exactly what it is. But like I said, like doing this here, I'm hired to do this book. I enjoy doing it. That's not the point. But I want to make sure that I please uh, the writer, Rodney Fite, with what I'm doing. That it conveys his story and that he's pleased with that. And that's the main goal. And in that, I'm doing a service. But like I said, but when it comes to my own stuff or anything that I want to sit down and draw or whatever, I'm providing it for entertainment purposes, but not for service purposes. And I am by no means like that either. I'm just rambling, right? I mean, come on. You can't take some freaking idiot that's live at 4:30 in the morning. What he's saying. Oh, I think I need more coffee. So, and then let's see this. First one was Rubs. This is Scirocco. We got a new character coming up. And this next one. Man, I feel like I'm just like talking drab. Like, I can't talk too terribly loud. You don't want that anyway. So this week so this is not the traditional art style kamikaze. The official show, of course, is on Saturdays on the IndieComicsNetwork.com. And if you feel like you need to support IndieComicsNetwork.com, they darn do it. We did get monetized over there. So now we're doing super chats. So if you ever feel like supporting any of the hosts or the channel for that matter, because it goes to paying for the StreamYard and those kind of things, we always appreciate super chats. Well, we will now because we just got them. So, yay. But when I say we, that's one thing I have to make people understand sometimes is Indie Comics Network is not mine. It's not mine. It's solely the work of Needle Landing, and I try not to put my 2 cents in, but I am a man, so that happens, right? You know what I'm talking about. Oh man. Well, I'm never really happy with my inking, and I really would like to get to traditional place with it, but you got a 40-hour job trying to get to do traditional. It's just it's a hassle. It really is. It's great. It's fantastic. But and what I mean by that is this. Oh well, and maybe you work 40 hours a week and you do traditional work. Great. But if I'm trying to pump out, this year alone, I've already put out, oh golly, 4 books. And yes, I know the whole, comic artists should be able to do a page a day. Sure. And if that's all the comic artist is doing, that's fantastic. But when you have a 40-hour work week job, sometimes more, depending on what their demand is, it gets kind of hard to do that. So, and it really gets kind of hard to do that when you're traditionally. So, but as far as ink is concerned, I'm really there's great things. Like I said yesterday, it's like, oh, I have been trying. I now default to having their default brushes in Clip Studio, even though I tried to find other ones. And I don't know. I just have to figure out my style on that, or not necessarily my style. See, everybody's always looking to do their style. Oh, my style this and my style that, and it's like people stop. I always say this: stop. Go find. Go learn how to draw. Learn the technicalities, I guess, and then stop. And then those technicalities, those things are going to help you develop a style that's uniquely you. And I got news for you. You're probably not going to like it. I swear, it's somebody up and downs, and with this, like all I want to do is do something that I like. Oh my gosh. Yeah, well. In fact, you can even come off of this, and there was even a cartoon out there somebody did where you come off of it, it looks great. You back up and you're like, oh, okay, I finally did a piece of art that I like. You come back to it the next day and you're like, oh man, what is this garbage? So I swear, I think sometimes this stuff distorts. It really does. Like the bad art fairy comes along in the middle of the night and decides to just say, no, you think that looks good? Not anymore. Sprinkle some mean pixie dust all over it, and then just it's not what it was. So as you can see, this whole page is not exactly complete. I do have the other panels drawn, but I didn't finish them yesterday. So and this is page 18, so that's the good thing about, like, it's for instance, I always try to make sure most of the people that I'm around, I've tried to make sure to get the work done before they go to the Kickstarter. So, and it seems to have worked well. Most of the Kickstarters I've seen, well, all the Kickstarters I've done art for have been successfully funded. So, thank God for that. I would take that personally. I really think I would. Even though it could be bad marketing. Yeah, you see, this one's not even really very clean lines. I don't know what the deal is with this one. This one I had a real hard time trying to get that panel working. It's something about sticking a certain amount of space, especially stand-up figure in the panel. You want them to fit properly in the panel, but sometimes in order to get the right angle or the right proportions, you end up doing a lot smaller character in a panel than you wanted to do, just so you can get that. But which brings me to another thing. Can we please stop saying comics are just storyboards? That's okay. And let me explain why I say that. Storyboards are under the assumption of something being filmed that's going to move. In a comic, you have to convey that story in a way that it's being able to be told in panels that are limited. And and you're not usually drawing arrows to show motion and a couple of panels to complete a scene. So you're very, very limited in that. And so you could draw a panel on a storyboard that doesn't have to that conveys a camera angle, but doesn't have to convey an emotion. At least that's how it seems like. Hey, I could be wrong. I'm not saying that, but what I have seen of storyboards is you're able to storyboards are hard. I'm not trying to talk down about that at all, but that you can convey something with an arrow or whatever that's going to convey that emotion, that's going to convey that motion, and it's going to be up to the actors to convey whatever emotion that's in that scene. But guess what? For a comic, that's not the case. You're not going to be able to rely on a director to bring your vision to life. You're not going to be able to rely on any actor to act that emotion out. You're trying to capture that emotion in the camera angle, but there's more to it than that when it comes to comics. You have to make sure that comics feel alive, even though they're two-dimensional drawings on a page. And I think the comparison is that, storyboards are just comics, or comics are just storyboards. I think I don't want to say demeans, because it seems like, but I think it undermines what each one of those are. Now, that is not in a way at all saying one is more important than the other, or one is more work than the other one. But I think it does undermine what comics are and what you're conveying. Because with a storyboard, you're getting camera angles and telling the story that's been told. But with a comic, you're conveying emotion. You're conveying not only camera angles, emotion, feeling, atmosphere. You're the production designer. You're the actor. So. And it's a finished product. So, and I'm sure there's a huge argument for that out there against what I just said. But I think it does. I think for both, because for storyboard artists, they have to take into consideration what's going to please their client, what's going to convey that, and the grounds, decide how the actor is going to predict how the actor is going to act during that scene. But I think it was kind of interesting to find out that hey, Jim, how are you doing this morning, sir? Yeah. What I really found interesting, though, was to find out that Hitchcock was actually a storyboard artist too in his films. I could totally see that. But all right, Jim, doing well. That's good, especially on a Wednesday, man. Golly, if you're doing well on a Wednesday, you're doing pretty good. Just almost there. I was reading something the other day about how, like, Mondays. Wait, no, was it? I think it was Daphne who was talking about that, actually. How Mondays even feel like a Monday, even if you work from home. So there's just something psychological about it. Even when I was home, when I was down this past year, that was the thing too. Was like Monday did feel like a Monday. I'll be honest with you, which makes it kind of sad for retirement, doesn't it? It's always going to feel like Monday. And look, and that's why Garfield always hated Mondays. Just something about a Monday. Monday comes with its own set of problems. Wednesday has its own too, right? So Yeah. So after this, I'm going to end up after I should be. I'm trying to shoot to finish this book by the end of the year. I have uh, 6 more pages to complete, I think, and then that'll be done. And plus, we did Magi's Grace, which is myself and JD Calderon. And yeah, the campaign was successful, but you believe it or not, sometimes you find, when you get I see this stuff. I've been seeing Kickstarter stuff. I've never really ran a Kickstarter, but you see it from a certain point of view when you're on the outside. And like, oh, well, that doesn't make sense. Why would you do that? But when you get on the inside of it, you really start to see it in a different light. And you find out that even though you can go look at a Kickstarter and like, oh, they made such amount of money, you'll be surprised how many people actually had cancel or use bum cards or whatever by the end of it, and you don't get all the funding that you need. You get enough to support what you needed to support, but if you ask for too much money, then you're definitely not going to get the funding you need. And if you ask for too little, you might not. It's such a it's hard. And for all you guys out there running campaigns and things like that, and if you're listening now, drop it in the comments. I don't mind. It's hard. To really maintain, to figure out everything, shipping, taxes, Kickstarter's cut, or whoever's cut, whoever you're going with, whether it's Indiegogo, Kickstarter, Zoop, or GoFundMe Comic, it doesn't matter. But it's a difficult task to. You're your own freaking accountant, and usually your own fulfillment service, and blah 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 blah. And, oh my gosh, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work that goes into it. I have a plan for something that I plan on doing probably towards the end of next year. It looks like before it gets into complete fruition. But it's not really going to be Kickstarter right away. Anyway, I have something else planned for it, and I feel bad for certain folks, especially for writers, man. And again, let me put it out there for you writers that are out there hiring people to do your comic and do this and that. A lot of respect to you. A lot of respect to you. Thank you so much for your business. But and I think sometimes they don't. At least they don't feel like they get the appreciation they deserve. And you do. And I feel bad for you because I'm sure, in all honesty, if you could, you would do it yourself. In fact, I used to. That's what I was doing. I was writing, and like I tell people before, I said, I guess it's the narcissist in me, but I was writing, and I got to that point where it's like, okay, I could do one of two things. I want you to see the world that I'm creating, right? I want you to see it. That's not going to work. And if I try to describe it, what I'm creating, you're going to end up viewing it the way you view it. And I don't think I was going to get it conveyed the right way anyway. So I said, okay, I'm going to draw. And I hadn't drawn in years. I'm at this point in time, I was in my 30s. Hadn't really drawn in years. Definitely not technically. I said, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to make sure that people see the world that I'm imagining. And so I buckled down to do that. And that's what's great about comics is I'm able to tell the story and give you the world that I'm imagining. And that when you think of it, you can remember I can make suggestions in there to tweak how you feel about certain things. That's the great thing about art. That's what we were talking about yesterday on the shape language thing, right? Is there's certain little additives and stuff that tweak a world. Go back and watch if you get a chance. Go back and watch last week's art style kamikaze. Especially if anything, go to the end where we talked about the fifth element and the amount of things that they added in the fifth element to build up that world that you might not have realized. And certain things like how big it was conveyed through like a train going up and down the building, like just vertically, or the rail systems, or the people in the background, the surroundings, and things like that. And just to show you how big that world was, like just being built above the smog in the city, things like that. And it's those type of things that you want to do in a comic. This is kind of things you want to do in art, is those little bitty nuances that are going to convey the emotion or convey the scene without telling somebody it, right? It's like, I don't want to tell somebody. I want to show. I want you to get that feeling. I want. I can't tell you how many times I've looked back at a piece of art or something that I thought was one way, but in actuality, it wasn't. It wasn't as clear as that, but they were able to convey it in a minimal amount of strokes. In fact, that's one thing that I did learn long ago. The less strokes that you use to convey, the better artist you are. I don't know if that's true, but I remember reading that. And if you can convey the image and what's going on in less strokes, then you're doing it right. So that's the same way that you want to do with your backgrounds and your just these little tiny trails and things that just kind of make people feel those worlds. And that's what I kind of hope to do. And that's what I'm studying to do. It never ends, never ends. That's Lou. So, like this lady right here is a lawyer or defense attorney or something, and just you want to convey it, even with the furry thing. And I didn't set out to do. I really, honestly, didn't set out to do furry stuff, which doesn't bother me at all. Because I remember when I was a kid, we used to have. Of course, we had the Disney Afternoon on TV, but we also had little digest or whatever, like the little Archie digest. It was about the same thing for called Disney Adventures, and in that you had Darkwing Duck, Tailspin, uh, Ducktales, comics, and I got myself into trouble a lot of times in middle school, sitting there and just drawing the Darkwing Ducks comics. So yeah, like I said, I didn't get into this. I even then I was never really interested in working for say like Marvel. I did have a time where I kind of wanted to be a Disney animator. Uh, and that didn't last too terribly long, but I never had a desire to work for Marvel or DC or anything like that. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Not that I wouldn't if they came knocking. I don't have a problem one way or another with either one of the companies, other than they're just a company. That's they're going to have certain business practices that I disagree with. It's just like anything else. I don't disagree with everything Walmart does. I mean, I don't agree with everything Walmart does. Of course, I don't know everything. I don't know quite what I agree with that Walmart does, but still. I digress. Point being, if I had to choose something to do, a mainstream book that I would want to do, it would probably I would love to get and do the Dynamite Dark Tales that they just started coming out. I guess it's still. I hope it's still going. Oh man, they talk. I heard talk of them doing no, it was Seth Rogen doing a Darkwing Duck. And it's like, why? Why are you doing this to us? Really? And here's the thing. I'm open to okay, like for instance, you had him do that Ninja Turtle movie or whatever. Well, I had problems with that Ninja Turtle movie, and it's not just because I grew up as a Ninja Turtle fan. I'm more than happy to have different iterations of the Turtles. I don't mind. What was it that came out? There was something that came out. It was kind of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Rise or whatever the case is. I don't have a problem. Whatever. Sure. Okay. That's fine. Whatever you want to do. But I definitely didn't like the story. I took my kids to see it. They did not laugh one time during that entire film. I think the most entertaining thing that I've ever seen that had Seth Rogen doing anything with it was Preacher, and even that fell apart after really after the first season. Second season was okay, and then they just kind of wandered around New Orleans. But I'll be honest with you, I was never a fan of even the comic book Preacher either. There's this Deus Ex Machina. And if you don't know what Deus Ex Machina is, Deus Ex Machina is kind of like some old Greek tales where the protagonist, whatever, would get in trouble and there'd be no way out of it, and then a god showed up and saved him. It's very Deus Ex Machina. That happens. I've seen it happen a few times, even in modern storytelling. Something just out of nowhere, the god of the machine comes out and saves the protagonist. And that's how I felt about to an extent, that's how I felt about Garth Ennis's Preacher. Just the whole, I just happened to cross my old boyfriend in the middle of the street while I'm running away from, gangsters or whatever with a vampire. It just, right away, it didn't really grab me. However, the show was like totally freaking different, right? Like it was like the first season really wasn't about the preacher per se, but about the town and the angels trying to find God and all that stuff. So I did enjoy the first season. It was crazy the way that it ended. But after that, it just kind of fell apart. And that's about the only thing that I could think of that I enjoyed that has Seth Rogen in it. Yeah, or not, or he had a hand in it. I didn't like. What is it? Everybody talked about Pineapple Express. It just, I don't know. Oh, I take it. There was that. They did the Disaster Artist where it was like the Tommy Wiseau movie, The Room. Critically panned as a bad movie, but this is like the bad movie to watch. And I think he was in that for like a brief second. And what's his name? The guy who played Tommy Wiseau, he did a great job. Him and his brother. So I enjoyed that. Does that count? Oh, it doesn't. But let's see. So, yeah, I think this is a collie, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. But oh man, there's too much quietness. Waking up in the morning, coming out here. I think it, in a way, kind of gets me going to kind of come out here, just like I'm just going to come talk to you. Maybe you're enjoying your coffee. Maybe you're getting ready for work. Maybe you're like, golly, this guy just will not shut up, and I can't get to the computer to change the channel. Whatever it is, I do appreciate you tuning in. Say, like, oh, and hey, please, and if you disagree with me, then you are a Seth. I want to see somebody who is a Seth Rogen fan, please, because every time he might be, I don't associate the person that I dislike with being a bad person, or I don't like their work and they're a bad person. So I don't know. I don't think Seth Rogen's a bad person or anything like that. There's just not anything that I really enjoy he does. I tried to watch Future Man. I didn't get into that. Uh, I'm fickled. What can I say? I've been lately checking out Please Don't Destroy, which they, like I said yesterday, they did that Treasure of Foggy Mountain movie, which ended up being pretty funny. I didn't expect it to be as funny as it was, but but of course they were doing they were doing YouTube skits and things like that. And then they got picked up by Lord Michaels to write for Saturday Night Live and do things for Saturday Night Live. So, which is pretty freaking impressive, considering the amount of people that you see out there that were like that. But and so it's been funny. It's been there's like three guys, and there's just, if you get a chance to check it out, look on the they had a YouTube channel for some of their older stuff, because I think they just started working for Saturday Night Live like a year or so ago. And but and I'll be honest with you, I was kind of impressed with Saturday Night Live this past week. It was the first time I've watched it in years. Definitely the first time I've watched a full one. And I actually laughed, which is surprising. I never thought that Saturday Night Live was as diverse as everybody made it out to be, because I've seen them. I have seen them like lampoon both sides of the aisle, as it were. So, which is great. And if you can't have a sense of humor about yourself about these things, when did we start making politics sports teams? Explain this to me. When did we start deciding that, oh, okay, if I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat, it's like, oh, I won, you lost. That's how it's been viewed. It's like, it's not a team, right? I mean, this is something that affects everybody. If the Dallas Cowboys win a game or most commonly lose a game, is that really affecting it? The house says have somebody else up stupid early or late. Yeah. Try to get a little bit in before I go to work. I'm about to, a few minutes, and we'll have to shut it down so I can go warm up my car. But when did we do? I mean, maybe that was always that way. I don't know. But it just say I don't. I've been able to vote now for well, let's not talk about how many years, but since at least I've been able to vote since the 90s. Let's put it that way. And So it's like I don't remember it being so everything was so our side and your side and this politics and things like that. Well, it's been like that. That's not what I mean, but where now it's like almost like teens. Like I'm expecting people to start wearing like oh golly, please don't do this. But what's his freaking name? Okay, somebody I can think of. A Mitch McConnell shirt. Please don't wear a Mitch McConnell shirt. Or like the senator, the congressman's number, or something like that. It's like Allison said, it's a combination of 24-hour news cycle and social media. Yeah, absolutely. I think what was it? Ah, Anchorman 2 did that, right? Where they were basically lampooning the fact that we have a 24-hour news channel, but there's not news for 24 hours. We'll find something. It's and that's it, right? Yeah. I said, yep. So I was like, it's something that affects. Look, to be honest with you, who wins the Super Bowl? I don't care. I don't know. If you care, cool. I get it. I understand it. Sports for me, I have a respect for sports and football and things like that, even though I'm not involved in or like I can respect the idea or liking something that has uh planning and procedures and things like that. I feel like it's indicative of going to war, right? It's very you have a game plan, you have a strategy, you have to beat the other side, how they think, or whatever. So, and now we know we can't snort coke on live TV. Is that something that we can't do yet? Yet, give it time. But that's really crazy considering the how everything is. Where when I was in the I remember in the 80s and the 90s, the way that they made it seem like by this point in time in TV, we'd be having a pornography channel that's all access or some shit. And and it's really oh, okay, one of my favorite Anchorman 2 scenes. It's been a while since I've watched that. But yeah, but I remember that that we were going to be able to do all these things and all TV was, but then there's been some steps backwards. I just can't believe some of the stuff that I see now. It's like I thought we got past this. Were we past this? And it's just you find you're not. It's kind of like I was saying about the millennial scene, that their generation was like actually Generation Y. I think that fits so perfectly. Sorry, millennials. Generation Y. I thought that was funny, and I heard that back in 1990 something. So, but anyway, it is about that time. I have been on for an hour now, whew, and I'm gonna have to go warm up my vehicle because here in the South we don't like the cold. That and I don't have the blowers out in my van, so I have to move fast to get the defroster to work, just from the force of the wind pushing the fan. So I like to warm it up so that when that does happen, I don't have to wait for the car to warm up. But, so anyway, so for this Wednesday, go forth, create something, finish something. If you haven't done something, or you were doing something and you lost it and you haven't gotten back to it, just like Allison says, going back to bed. Damn cat woke me up. Have a good day at work. Have a good nap. But yeah, like I said, if there's something you haven't finished, if there's something that you've been meaning to do, Nothing like the press to do that. Motivate yourself. So, with that, have a good hump day. And I don't know if I'm going to do this tomorrow, but we'll see. If I'm here, I did. So, bye.
You have been watching Art Style Kamikaze. If you've experienced headaches, bleeding, or a pleasurable euphoria, please consult a physician. Unless you like that kind of thing.